Okay, this is how I would add a sky. Here I have an image from one of my weddings where I wanted to keep it bright and airy, but I also, I could leave it like this and I still think it looks perfectly lovely like this, but I could also add a bit of a sky on here. Now, this image was probably taken at about 3 p.m., so it wouldn't make sense for me to do a like a sunset sky. So I'm thinking just a really really light blue sky. I don't want to do anything too heavy because I don't want to make the image overall too heavy. So here's what I would do. So here is a folder I have of kind of just different random skies. And you can just go out and take skies yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a sky here. And I actually prefer to grab skies with a lot of clouds in it. I think it kind of makes it look easier and sort of helps to keep the overall light appearance. But you that's personal preference. Okay, so I am just going to make this image cover my whole photo, but it at least needs to cover the area that you want to place the sky in. Okay, so now my sky is on top, and this works really well because my sky is totally blown out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this layer that you see over here and this blending mode. And oh, this is Photoshop, by the way. So you're going to need Photoshop for this. So over here, in my layers palette, my blending mode is normal. I actually want to turn that to multiply. And you could see what that does. It makes it blend in. That's why it's called a blending layer, because it blends with the background. Now what multiply does is it it adds the colors, or it does what you just see it do. It makes it, I don't know, I couldn't explain everything that it does, but what I do know is that it makes the image on white look just like it did, and then anything else that goes on top of it sort of adds a little bit of a it sort of blends together. It makes it a little bit darker. That's probably the word I'm looking for. Okay, so now that I have that, I actually want to sort of erase. So you can kind of see cloud over her dress and over these other things. I want to erase the sky from most of the rest of this image, and I kind of just want to obviously contain it just to this sky area. So I'm going to go over here and add a mask right here, and I want to make sure that I have a brush here, and I want to paint black on top of the area where I do not want it to show. So black hides, white conceals. So with my black, I'm going to paint over the area where I do not want my sky coming through. And you can see that I kind of have a big brush here, and I'm sort of just, I'm not being perfect. I don't need to be. And I'm just going to do this really quick. Now, and you could see how it's kind of starting to go up into the sky area here, and it looks kind of funny. That's okay. I could reverse this and paint that right back in on top of that if I wanted to, and that would be perfectly fine. But in fact, I'm just going to do this again just so you can see. I'm going to lighten this sky quite a bit anyway, because I don't want it to look like, oh, hey, there's an image. Whoa, there's sky. I don't want it to be overwhelming. So I am actually going to bring this opacity down. And what I prefer to do is actually bring it down all the way to 0 and then just pull it back up just slightly until I'm satisfied with it. So I'm thinking right about there. See, now that's something that I personally would prefer, maybe 25%, because then the colors sort of match the rest of the image. Now, this particular image has a lake here that a sky would normally reflect into. So I'm actually going to use white, and I'm actually going to sort of paint that sky back into the lake a little bit, this lake area. And I don't know that anybody would notice that or not, but it's kind of nice. Anyway, so you could see now, and this area that was starting to look kind of funny here, totally gone because it's so light anyway. And you can see it looks, I think, well, hopefully you think so too, perfectly natural. Okay, now I'm going to do one more here just to show you something slightly different. Here is a photo I have, and you could see that there's a mountain here and it's a little bit darker, and then there's one further in the distance back here that's kind of faded. And let me show you. I'm going to add a little bit of a pink sky here because this was taken right after the sun went behind the mountain. So I think the sky actually was slightly pink at this point. So I want to put the sky in to make it look like it actually did in that moment. So let me go back to my skies here. I'm going to get this pink sky. Do the same thing. I'm going to make it as big as my image here. And I'm going to choose multiply. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to add my mask. I'm going to paint over the parts that I don't want with black.
Oh, that's...
And I'm also going to show you, I'm going to point something out too. So this mountain that's kind of faded in the background, I'm going to erase the sky from this, and then I'm going to do something else in just a second. Okay. All right. So it's pretty good there. Now I'm going to lighten it up. Again, I'm going to start at 0% and then just slightly pull it back in. And this one, I'm thinking like 36%, something like that. 37%, that's pretty good. Now, this one, because this is more of a solid sky and it doesn't have all those white clouds to help sort of blend in that white, I'm actually going to go back and paint some of this sky back in. It's actually okay if it overlays on top of this just a tiny little bit, and that's kind of why I keep my brush large, because then it feathers a little bit better. And then I'm going to show you this. Okay, so if I do the same thing to this mountain over here, you could see that, I don't know about you, but I still think that this mountain looks kind of funny. Now, normally, if I didn't blow out the sky, this mountain actually would start to take on the color of the sky, because it's actually the sky that's sort of making that mountain look pale in the first place. Sorry if I can't think of the right words here. Okay, so I am probably going to reduce my brush opacity here to like 50%, and I'm going to brush some of the sky back over this mountain. Maybe a little bit. Another pass here. And that's pretty good. I think that looks much better. So in a case like this, where you have something far in the distance, it's actually good to leave a little bit of sky back on that object. It'll look more natural that way. So there you go. That's how I easily put a sky back in, and especially when you come over here and pull the sky's opacity way down to more match the feel of the image, then it tends to blend in really well, and you don't have to be really perfect to make it look good. All right, there you go.